Peace to all of the kings and queens out there. This is your brother, 13th letter to the cipher, back at you again. I have been busy reading, traveling, talking to people, doing things. So I'm sorry if you haven't seen me, but I want to thank you for all of your support, all of your encouragement, and all of your efforts that you have been, number one, holding to yourself, to your family, your friends, and of course to me. Thank you for supporting the presentation, The Mo Show, in which I give you valuable information that you can apply and use in your life every day. And I'm not going to stay with you long. I got other things to do. But I will be back later on tonight as well. Tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday. And I'm done for about a couple of days. Okay. I was having conversations with a relative and a friend. Okay. And just so happens that my family member, once again, is the slave mentality Christian dude, and the other guy is the everyday Joe. Oh, I know what I'm going to tell you. You see this here? You see that there? You see that? You see that there? Do you see that? Now that is something that I got caught with by the cops. In fact, a couple of videos ago, I made a video, a couple of videos ago, if you go back and watch, I made a video regarding the law and what you need and what you don't need and how you are a corporate entity, a fake corporate entity, and you don't even know it. Okay? By the way, I had the receipt in this thing too because I got a dispensary. I got it from a dispensary. And I got pulled over by the cops. The cops asked me, what is that? And I told him that's my property. He asked for my driver's license. And I asked him why. I don't have to give him anything. He asked me why I don't want to give it to him. I told him because I am not a part of your corporation that you got going on here. I am a individual solemn being. And according to this law, which is the Fourth Amendment, you can't take anything of mine without due process. And this is from a dispensary. It's absolutely legal. So why are you worrying about this? And I got the receipts. I'm just saying. Now, getting right along. So if you ever encounter that situation with police, you know how to deal with it. And in fact, they also have field testers that they can test all of this with. Okay? So you don't have to go to jail. They can test it. Okay? And I'm still here. I'm still here the next day afterwards or the next 2 days afterwards, okay? But like I say, I've been in Minnesota, I've been in Iowa, I've been to a lot of places. I've been in a lot of places. Back to my cousin and his friend. Okay, now, for some kind of reason, we got to talking about Lucifer, we got to talking about Christ, we got to talking about who's the savior, who's the devil, who's not the devil, the angels, and all of this good stuff. But I told him this here. And I'm always doing something with a family member because most of my family members are church-going people that have no sense at all. Like I said, I was at a funeral. I haven't seen my cousin in years. I was at a funeral, and do you know that she did not even speak to me? She looked at me, rolled her eyes real nasty at me. Yeah, and I knew her when she didn't have no teeth in her mouth. Sorry. And this occurred at my cousin's Jackie funeral. Yeah, she just looked at me like, fuck you. But it's all good. I know why. Self-hatred. Self-hatred and falsehood hates to be exposed by truth. Remember, I told you that when you get to talking the truth, you're going to lose a lot of friends. You're going to lose a lot of relatives. I'm a living example of that. Straight up. But we was talking about churches and angels and demons and stuff like that and Lucifer. And I told my peeps whom I was having this conversation with, because they was giving me their input as well. But I'm not going to give you their input. I'm going to give you my input, seeing that this is the 13th letter to the cipher. Okay, and basically, I told them this here. Because they like going to church and stuff like that. I told them this here, man. When you go to a church and you walk into that church, especially if that church is in the Black community, and that church has a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man on the wall, in the stained glass windows, anywhere in that church, if you have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man hanging around in your church, I will tell you that that church and that pastor is lying to you. That's just real talk. And why do I say that? Because after my 40 years of studying that Sun book, along with other books, I have never found where that book says that Serapis, or that blue-haired, that blue-eyed, blonde-haired white dude, is Jesus. Because it doesn't say that. It specifically states that he had bronze legs, black legs, not white legs, but of color, and his hair was like wool, meaning nappy. And that's in the Revelations. And even if you go to the book of Daniel, it'll tell you about the ancient ones and what the ancient ones look like in the book of Daniel. And after you study that book, because I've studied it back and forward, forward and backwards, in between to both places, back and forth. And like I say, I've never found where there was a white Jesus in that book. Secondly, that same teaching or same book, that book, it says not to make graven images. But you do it anyway. You make graven images anyway, and it's okay with you, even though it's an abomination. I just can't believe that. Now, I further blast him away with this, because this is really going to get you. When you go to Revelations chapter 22, verse 16, that's right, Revelations chapter 22, verse 16, you will find that Jesus, who is supposed to be dead somewhere, who got crucified somewhere in the Gospels, shows back up in Revelations. Okay? And in Revelations, in the Queen James Version, that's right, because he was a homosexual, chapter 22, verse 16, it states, Jesus said that I am the root / offspring of David. I am the root or offspring of David. Okay, you can use whichever one you want. You can use the root or you can use the offspring. It says that I am the root of David, the bright and morning star. Did you hear me? Jesus said in Revelations chapter 22, verse 16, that he is the root of David, the bright and morning star. Okay. Now, I don't know about for you people who don't read or anything like that, but I highly advise you to research this, because when you research Lucifer in Latin, seeing that the English language that we speak is composed of Greek and Latin. Anytime you look into your dictionary, you'll find this language is composed of Greek and Latin. Okay. And when you look up Lucifer, you will find that Lucifer means the bright and morning star. And what did Jesus just say to you in Revelations chapter 26, verse 22, verse 16? He says that he is the bright and morning star. The same thing that Lucifer said. Wow. Now, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the person that lied to you. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the person that lied to you. Get mad at yourself for not reading. Get mad at yourself for not studying. And like I say, and then you allow yourself to be further fooled and carried on further into this nonsense by accepting those graven images that they depict or place in your face, and you still go along with it after you just read, and it's actually in the 10 Commandments, which actually came from the 42 Confessions of my after you find yourself reading those 10 Commandments, it says, thou shalt not make no graven image. Well, why do you still accept it? Why do you accept a white Serapis, a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man as your savior when you're black? In fact, this white man enslaved you, raped you, hung you, chained you, fucking robbed you of your common sense, your intelligence, and you accept that what he's saying is true about your creator or about this story of Jesus. I'm confused. I really am. White images of a God, white images of God in black churches is unhealthy for the black man and black woman psyche. Let me say that again. The image of a white God or a white Jesus in a black church is damaging to the psyche of the black man and black woman. You don't think so? After a while, my relative got his feathers ruffled when I started talking about Jesus and how he's actually Lucifer. Jesus is Lucifer. That's one of them. But he most definitely is Lucifer. How silly can you be defending the devil? How silly can you be defending the devil? Because when you defend the devil, you do what? Not only do you defend the devil of this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man and his doctrine of Jesus, not only do you defend that, Lucifer, you defend the actually is making you a homosexual. That's what Jesus is doing. And then they even confuse you about Jesus because they tell you that Jesus said, turn the other cheek. But then again, you hear Jesus being a gangster because he told Peter to go get that money and go buy them swords because we got problems. But yet he gonna tell you to turn the other cheek. and yet his father, God, that you say was Jehovah, was a gangster, but his father, God, Jehovah, left him out there dry? I'm just saying, you think about that, okay? From my experience, I find that many of us justify and defend Lucifer because we're brainwashed. Self-hatred. That's why you cannot create an unhealthy mind or psyche of a person. You cannot create an unhealthy mind in a healthy environment. So it's safe to say that the unhealthiness mind of Black people is healthiness for white people. And I'm not just talking about everyday white people. No, I'm talking about the higher liars, okay? When I'm talking about white people, I'm talking about higher liars. I'm not talking about the average, everyday, broke, working class white person. I'm not talking about that. But if you middle class and above, that's your ass. Because middle class white families actually try to conserve the system. So now that you know, if you don't know, now you know. But like I said, the unhealthy minds of Black people is the healthiness for white people, who are the higher liars, who have the think tanks, who sit on all the arson of the US that is able to press the button in a fucking minute, okay? These are the people that I'm talking about, okay? It's just like, I'm going to use an analogy, to help familiarize or, give you another similarity. Maybe I use the wrong scenario, but it's just like a junkie. A junkie who tried to fix his sickness, okay? He needs a fix to get his ill off, all right? And he goes to the drug pusher. And the junkie thinks that the drug pusher is his friend, not realizing that the unhealthiness or the sickness of the junkie is the wealth and healthiness of the drug pusher. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything different other than that. Now, if you think I'm lying, I'm sure you all know some people who smoke dope. And when I say dope, I'm talking about cocaine. I'm talking about who sniffs heroin. I'm talking about somebody who shoots heroin. Yeah, I'm sure you know somebody who does do heroin and who does do crack or who does do cocaine. I'm sure you do. So let's use that analogy. The next time you see a person trying to buy that shit, you make sure that you try to get them off that shit. Ask them what would they be doing if they wasn't on that shit. And try to talk to them, man. We have to help one another. We have to be uplifting and we have to be an encouragement for one another. We just can't sit back and talk about the individual who's on the drugs when we're not trying to actually talk to the person about getting off the drugs. And even though you might not be successful at that, at least you've made an attempt. That means you've done your job. You've done your job. And I want you to understand one thing about doing your job. When the Creator created you, he or she created you for a purpose. And if you don't do that purpose, if you don't fulfill that purpose, that Creator will turn you over to the wolves. Will turn you over to the wolves so that the wolves can devour you. And the reason being is because you are not being real or obedient to yourself. I'm just saying, now you think about that. But we're going to get back to the other guy, okay? The initial conversation. Now, after this person is indoctrinated or is recruited by Lucifer, yeah, because Lucifer recruits people. And just so happened, Lucifer actually recruits from the very same people that he is oppressing. Reason being, because the very same person that he is recruiting from the people that he is oppressing will help him oppress continuously. Oppress his own people without even knowing it. Why? Because he's brainwashed. And once that recruit or neophyte goes upon his campaign and have other people who are being oppressed and crippled by Lucifer, he gets them or convinces them that Lucifer is the answer, when actually Lucifer is the one who placed you in your condition. And it will lead you straight to the bottomless pit. And the bottomless pit is the ghetto slave master mentality that leads to genetic annihilation of your own people. It amazes me how so many of my people hate themselves. Have you ever got on a bus or a train on the west side of Chicago? When you get on that bus or that train on the west side or the south side of Chicago, you can cut the tension and self-hatred in the air with a butter knife. We don't even talk to ourselves. We give each other fucked up looks like, nigga, don't talk to me. Nigga, don't look at me. Now, I thought that when I lived in New York, because I used to live in New York and I used to hang over there on 125th and Lexington. I sure did. Right across the street from the Pablo. Anyway, I used to hang out there, but I used to live on the Lower East Side. And these people, while they get on, when you get on the train, on the subway in New York, or get on the bus in New York, these people actually talking to each other. They talking to each other, but they can be some rude ass people too now. Now, if you got one of them rude days, you just got a rude day. But most of the time, they pretty much talking to one another. Black people, Chinese people, Puerto Rican people, Mexican people. These people are all talking to each other. On the train, on the subway. Now, sometimes they fight. Don't get me wrong. But I will tell you this. They some rude ass people, but the tension that we have in Chicago is not the tension that's in New York. Sad. We don't speak to each other, but we believe in Jesus. You say that you believe in Jesus. We allow others to kill us, imprison our sons and daughters unjustly, and then have the belief that Jesus is going to work it out, when it was Jesus, Lucifer, who actually caused the black man and black woman, Jesus is the very one who made the black man a bitch, made him a sissy, made him a homosexual. Now, if you think I'm lying, how many of you all know a male choir director or a male organ player? You know, the sugar booty. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Religion has kidnapped your mind, which renders you useless for the upliftment of your people. You have been robbed of your common sense with religion, not only of your common sense, but your intelligence. And when a brother pulls you to the side and try to pull your coattails and try to show you where you have been misled, they want to crucify and persecute you. I just don't understand. Self-hatred. Self-hatred. It's very hard to unbrainwash a person, especially us, seeing that we know every fucking thing. And from the looks of it, We don't know too much of anything, seeing that we got business degrees but don't have any businesses in the neighborhood. So I don't even want to talk about intelligence and common sense, okay? I don't want to talk about that right. We are the laughing stock of the world, yet we got time. Our black women got time to twerk. And young black men got time to show off scenes of fist fights among themselves. On social media, us versus us, showing your own ignorance and self-destruction. But if you ask these people, do they believe in God? And they would tell you yes, not knowing that they are the God and goddesses, killing themselves. Even the master teacher, George James, in his book entitled The Stolen Legacy, clearly states that the powers who ruled Kemet, guess what they did? And I'm talking about the Egyptian mystery system. Guess what they did? They also hoodwinked the people in regards to God. That's how they kept them in control. Hey, if you think I'm lying, now I want you to read the story of another master ruler, not master teacher, but this master ruler named Mansa Musa of Al-Kubalan. And look what he did. Made the one God concept. Okay? You have, wow. He made the one God concept. Okay, but prior to that, you had other Al-Kubalanic tribes worshiping other things. And even in Kemet, when you had pharaohs, all of the pharaohs didn't believe in the same thing. Some pharaohs changed their religion structure. Some pharaohs went back, to their ancestors' religion, and others just mixed it in. And you understand what I'm saying? So you have to be very careful. Like I say, even the master teacher, George James, said that those people who ruled Kemet used God to control people, knowing that they were the gods, okay? Knowing that they were the God, but told the people a lie. And this was before the white man. I'm just saying, check your facts. I'm just saying, some people gonna get mad, but frankly, I don't give a fuck, because that's just real talk. And if you got a problem with me, go see the master teacher, George James. I humbly and respectfully say that. Anybody got any problems with what I just said, go see master teacher, George James. But I don't think you can do that, because I'm telling the truth. And that goes for my family member, and that goes for my dear friend whom I had the conversation with the other day. Sadly, if anyone wants to talk to you about God, you should slap their ass. You should slap their ass talking to you about something that they have no knowledge of, wants to sell you on another brainwashing adventure. If you want to see the Creator, if you want to know what God looks like, just go look in the mirror. Because I see him every day. And all of these fake ass people out there propagating God that doesn't exist, I'm like that guy in the movie Get Out, who became the sex slave for the old white lady, who had a flash of consciousness and told the other young brother to get out from that environment. Here I am telling you the same thing. Not only do I have a flash of consciousness, I have a whole lot of flashes of consciousness, okay? And I'm trying to tell you to get the fuck out of that slave mentality thinking so that you can really understand who Lucifer is. Because you're actually worshiping Lucifer. Jesus even said he was Lucifer. Dig that. Jesus even said that he was Lucifer. He just said it in a slick fucking way. And the reason that you don't see it, because Jesus is so far gone once the Gospels is over, or as the Muslims say, in jail. Once that's over with, he don't appear until the end of the book again. Talking about how he is the root of David. But he said that he was from the root of David in the book of Romans. Excuse me, Paul said that he was from the root of David in the book of Romans. Okay? And even the people knew in the gospel that Jesus was from the offspring of David. And Joseph, who is his dad, according to Matthew chapter 1, if you look at Matthew chapter 1, it will specifically tell you that his father Joseph was an offspring from David. So he too is an offspring of David. But he calls himself the bright and morning star. Isn't that what Lucifer called himself? You have to think about that. When somebody tell you about God, slap their fucking ass. But if you want to be nice, like I be nice sometime, because I know how to make their faces red. I know how to make a person mad. Only thing you have to do is ask the right questions. But in order to ask the right questions, you have to study. But sometimes these questions are common sense. Just like I asked the man, look, God is so fucking powerful and this and that, right? And you got devil raising hell all on this planet, fucking people up. So why don't God just kill the devil? Mr. Pastor, Mr. Churchgoer, Mr. Holy Roller. And it took a 10-year-old to ask that question. A 10-year-old to ask that question. So what is your problem being a grown adult? Brainwashed. I highly recommend or suggest that you do some research on history, math, astrology, and science. And no, by all means, I'm not telling you to go back to school and pay all of that money. No, I'm not saying that. This is the age of information. It's right at your fingertips. You don't need a classroom. In fact, they have people going to school online right now. Everybody know that. So you can be educated online, but you can educate yourself without the money. Without being in debt, you can educate yourself properly and efficiently. Only thing you have to do is stop bullshitting. Put that crack down. Put that heroin down. Stop the prostitution. Go to a library. Get your little Kindle Fire. Even on your cell phone, okay? If you want to save yourself, you can. Because ain't nobody else going to save you. And if you're looking for a savior that's outside yourself, meaning someone that don't look like you will not be saved. You will die. You will die. And believe it or not, this is why the Creator takes away some of your loved ones who hold it together. So that you can suffer because you are not doing or performing your duty. I just don't understand. I really just don't understand. But for starters, if you really want to, I can give you a couple of books to start with. You can start with Christianity Before Christ, which is by George Jackson. You can start with From Babylon to Timbuktu. You can start with The World's 16 Crucified Saviors. You can start with Chancellor Williams' The Destruction of Black Civilization. You can start with George James' Stolen Legacy. It's a whole bunch of books you can start from, but I give you those to start with. You can go through one of those or all of those. But when you get to the Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, expect to be there some time, okay? Because that book is like 400 and some pages. And if you're trying to research that book, it's going to take you maybe 2 years. I mean, 18 months to 2 years to fully research that book. That's not a punk book. It's very, very valuable information. And if you got time enough to do that bullshit, if you got time enough to listen to that bullshit, meaning gangster rap music that teaches you to destroy yourself, you got time to educate yourself. You got time to educate your friends. If you got time to listen to Rick Ross and whomever else is out there, Jay-Z and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, if you got 30 minutes or an hour every day to listen to these people, you got an hour to educate yourself. You got to have some balance. If you dumb yourself down, you got to uplift yourself some kind of way, right? That's the laws of my life. Balance, right? I'm just saying. You keep listening to that shit, you're going to get dumber. And that's what they want you to do. To be dumb. Your dumbness is the smartness of white people. Your dumbness and your ignorance is the smartness and well-being of white people. Listen to me good. We have been conditioned to send our children to our enemy by design and accept their version of God. And you don't see anything wrong with that. I'm just saying. Now, if you think that I'm lying, where do you send your kids to school? Now, granted, I know that sisters, y'all got to do this, okay? I'm not mad at you. You got to do this because you got babies by a guy who ain't doing shit for you. Excuse me. Let me get grape juice. Sisters, I know you don't have no choice. You got these kids by a bozo ass dude. He ain't helping you. He fucked up. He in jail. He strung out. I understand that. So you got to do what you got to do. But in the meantime, after you get off work, even if it's 30 minutes, you teach them kids. You do it. And if you can, find a man that is on your frequency that can help you with your mind. That can help you with your mind, because after losing the baby's father, it's going to be pretty much hard for you to find another guy that's going to care about your kids the way you do. I'm just saying. Lucifer. Lucifer is Yahweh. For all of you Hebrews, Jews, even Jesus himself said that, told the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who are Jews, who love Jehovah, aka Yahweh, okay, that they have the synagogue of Satan. Don't argue with me. Lucifer is Jesus. He even tells you that he's Lucifer in the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 16, in the King James Version. I'm sorry, the Queen James Version. Lucifer is he whom strategizes to destroy and exterminate you. That's Lucifer. And last but not least, Lucifer is none other than the Pope himself. That's right. Lucifer is none other than the Pope himself. So if there's anything that I've said that you've liked, by all means, press the subscribe and like button. If there's anything that I left you with that you can use and apply to your life that helped armed you with knowledge that you can beat down a person with verbally, please, by all means, press that like and subscribe button. I'll see y'all tonight. Thanks for watching.